If you've never been to a con, have you ever wondered what it's like? Better yet, if you've ever attended a con, have you ever wondered what it's like to operate one? Well, this documentary has you. I just checked it out. I got a lot of thoughts and a special guest. So without further ado, let's jump into my review of the new documentary, Surviving Supercon. What's up, folks, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the new documentary Surviving Supercon, which is available now on digital and on demand as of today, November 9th. Now, I've never attended Florida Supercon. I've always wanted to. I actually was going to go before the pandemic, but I attended cons for years. So upon watching this documentary, to be honest, there was nothing that really caught me by surprise. I have attended cons as just attendees. I've attended as press, and I also have relationships and friendships with folks who actually run cons. So there was a lot about the behind the curtains aspect that I had already knew about. But I really gained an appreciation for this con, and I cannot wait to get down there to South Florida for the next year's Florida Supercon. But for the folks who haven't, what's really interesting about this con is that they give you a very thorough perspective about what does it take to run a con. You know, before the con even operates, the day-to-day on the floor, all of the craziness, and even when things seem to be planned, how things can always go wrong. And, you know, again, much like I said, I gained so much appreciation for the folks who operates Florida Supercon. The founder, Mike Broder, you know, from having a little dream back when he was a younger, teenage kid to running his first con in 2006 and to what it is today. One of the biggest cons. I think there was a report that went out that in 2017, it was the fourth biggest con. That's after E3, New York Comic Con, and San Diego Comic Con, which are juggernauts. So, like, to hear Florida Supercon is the fourth biggest con, I didn't even know that. But that was, you know, again, something I appreciated. You got to hear from his mother, who's also kind of been his biggest supporter, his right hand man, essentially, throughout this entire journey. And then the other co-founder, Sandy Martin, who, you know, as she said in her words, she is completely obsessed with this environment, with this lifestyle, being a part of the cons. You know, it's not nothing that you can just say is a passion. You have to be obsessed in order to be somebody to do this. And what I really loved about her is her emphasis on security, which is something that I'm a big, you know, advocate for in cons in terms of safety for not only the guests but the attendees. And seeing a big part of this documentary is her focusing on security. I was just like, you know what, she's the real MVP. But as I said, these cons can house anywhere from, I don't know, small cons could be whatever number, but like this is a con that houses up to 60,000 folks, and having to keep them happy for 4 days is just, you have to think about that now, folks. Like, you go to a football game and the game is over, then you go home. But this is basically running 4 football games all day for 4 days. Just the insanity of these folks having to do so. And it is a mom and pop business, however you look at it. But, you know, from them starting it back in 2006 to what it is now, to being part of the Repop family, I mean, they've made tremendous strides. And then I have to say, you know, something I was always really, I've seen the viral videos. I heard the buzz. I've never been able to attend this con. And as you know, me being a pro wrestling fan, Fantasy Super Cosplay, FSC Wrestling at Florida Supercon, a lot of footage, a lot of interviews and testimony about how it's a show within a show, and like the craziness behind that is something truly special. But like I said, you get to hear from the core staff members, other staff members, and you get to hear from celebrity guests at the cons themselves. So you get a lot of good interview moments within this. But speaking of celebrity guests, folks, I actually have one here myself, because when I was watching this, I was like, I wonder what cosplayer I was going to see. I didn't think I was going to see a celebrity guest, let alone somebody I knew. And then I saw this guy, this buddy of mine. And I was like, you know what? let me hit him up. And of course, he has so much knowledge to drop on me. I can't even believe he has time to talk to me today because he's forever working. Folks, I bring to you a part of this review / interview, my buddy Mike Kingston. Mike,
How's
what's
it
up?
going?
Good to see you smiling. Good to see you looking rested. I'm surprised this is not in the car. Like I said, always working. Mike Kingston, your creator and writer of Headlocked Comics. How's it going today, buddy?
Well, it's good that I'm glad that I'm at least giving you the impression that I am both smiling and rested. It's we're in the home stretch of our Kickstarter for our newest book, so that's
Yeah.
we're on the tail end of 30 days of just an emotional meat grinder. Yeah, I mean, I think I've maybe slept about 7 hours since Friday, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So.
That's awesome. And could you talk a little bit more about the Kickstarter? What's going on now? As people may have known in the past, you are, if you've ever been to a con, the biggest wrestling booth and comic book booth as a conjunction together, which is something unique in its own. But it's the biggest. It might be one of the only. It's not. It's not more than three. I can down that hill, but for sure the biggest at any con you'll ever go to. But yeah, you got a Kickstarter. So that means something else is coming down the pipeline. And what might that be?
Working on it's called Tales from the Road. It's the second collected edition. So Tales from the Road is a series of short stories that I co-create with a bunch of famous wrestlers. And this particular edition has AJ Styles and Thunder Rosa and Pentagon, Danhausen, Matt Cardona and Brian Myers, John Morrison, Jeff Cobb, Effie, Rob Van Dam. So there's a lot of really cool names attached to it. We just collaborate on just sort of fun short stories, comic book stories. They're all fictional. Some of them are based on real events and stuff, but they're all really fun. And I'm real happy with this collection. I'm excited for people to get to see it.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. And folks, I will have the information in the description below. That way you can keep up with the social medias. You can be a part of the Kickstarter and just keep up with all the updates coming with that. Now, Mike, Florida Supercon, seen you in this documentary, and I was like, ha, it's a face I'm familiar with. So talk to me about, because you do hit all the big cons. So that should have been my first indication that I should have been there. But also you go to the smaller cons too. You're very diverse in the con community here. But what is it about Florida Supercon that gets you down to South Florida?
Well, they've always been a show that's Mike and Sandy anyway. They've always been people that have believed in me. From the beginning, I had been a guest there probably since maybe 2013, 2014-ish. It's been a while, but I mean, they were back at when I started, when they started having me at the shows. I think they were still in the Miami Airport Convention Center, and then they moved to the Miami Beach Convention Center, and that's when they kind of started really blowing up size wise. But yeah, they've always been huge supporters, always sort of believed in what I'm doing, and there's just I think in a lot of ways we have a lot in common. Just that Mike, they're very this is a very grassroots thing, and what's interesting too is, I mean, if you get to the end of the documentary, I mean they've actually sold Florida Supercon to Reed Pop, and they started GalaxyCon, and now they have. GalaxyCon is in Raleigh, is one of the biggest shows, probably the biggest show in North Carolina. But they're just South Florida is probably one of the most impossible places to draw a crowd. I mean, if you ever watch sports, you know what I mean? Like no one ever, they don't sell out until unless somebody makes the playoffs, and then they'll sell out the playoff games. But I mean, if you're an athlete in South Florida, you're pretty much playing to at best a 3/4 filled arena.
Yeah.
And so to get that many people to come to an event in South Florida is a Herculean effort. And I mean, just knowing them like I do, and just seeing how much they're out in the community, just constantly just promoting, pushing it, working
Mhm.
with other people in the community to try to, build up partnerships and stuff. I mean, they don't mess around. And I mean, I think that they really built something special. And it's hard because I think like a lot of, obviously there's a ton of big Comic Cons,
Yep.
but I think, and I think Reed Pop's finding it out now, just how much of a local presence like you have to have in that community to be able to draw something like it was completely organic and completely tailored to that community. It's
Yep.
probably the most unique community anywhere.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think you'll see a lot of, I mean, Reed Pop bought Emerald City Comic Con, and it's, just trucking along. I mean, that was a huge con, but I
Mhm.
mean, and it's still a huge con, but like to Florida Supercon is a whole different animal, man. And it's a credit to Mike and Sandy and their passion for what they do. And
Yep.
I think we've always sort of recognized the sort of the grind hustle or whatever of each other. So
Yep.
we've always been good supporters.
Yeah, that's the first thing I picked up on is, when they talked about just constantly grinding and constantly working to achieve their goals. I was like, it's right along the lines of what you believe in, and that's why it makes sense for you to be within the company here, because they see the vision much like you, and when you get there, you just got to keep working until you eventually get there, and that's why I say, like, I gained so much appreciation for them. Like, the con is the con, but like them, it's just like, you know what, I can get behind people who are like that. Um, I thought it was also interesting to talk about Sandy and Mike. That of all the people that that they had in theirs, and then when you think about much like I said, in your vision in terms of this grinding and always moving forward, no sleep, no days off, and so on. I thought it was interesting that when you had your moments with them in the documentary, they were more like, I'm not gonna say comedic relief, but it was like that decompressing moments. The
Yeah.
moments of where y'all just sit back and y'all just kind of metabolize everything that's happening around there. And like, I appreciated that, which kind of brings me to my next question. Now, I've been knowing you for like a handful of years, but I've always known you had the comics for sales, the prints for sales. You had you could get the meet and greet packages and whatnot, but you never told me about the massages. Well, so
So
that's the Playboy package there, huh? You gotta be MVP.
one of the things is that I would think comes across the video is Sandy is completely high energy
Yes.
and just wound super tight during the show. And so like, having known them for so many years, like one of my sort of things is just, I try to make her laugh. I
Yeah.
try to make her forget about stuff for a minute. And yeah, she likes my massages. So um it just I do my best just because I mean at this point now, you know what I mean? Like it started out as a whatever, as a business type thing or whatever, you're a
Mm-hmm.
guest at my con or whatever, but I've
Mm-hmm.
known them long enough now that I mean they're some of my best friends. And
Yeah.
um I just it's I try to do what I can to, help them out. And
Yeah.
they're good people. They're good people that work real hard. And I think like I think just in this world, I think everybody's a little eccentric. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
little eccentric. You know what I mean? Like we're all a little weird. And so I think, you recognize that in each other. And I don't know, we've always gotten along. I mean, I met Mike at San Diego Comic Con, I want to say 2010 or 11. And like we've been friends ever since.
Mm-hmm.
Just an easy person for me anyway. I mean, it was an easy person to get to know. And you could see he can be brusque sometimes, but I think Mike demands a certain level of excellence or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and I think I don't know. He's always been, like I said, he's always been supportive of me and always been, always enjoyed the stuff that I've produced.
Yeah.
And they've given, they gave me a platform. I mean, way before a lot of people did. So I always try to be, I always try to support what they're doing, try to be where they're at, and the GalaxyCon shows now are probably my funnest shows. Interesting note of, we're doing this Tales from the Road Volume 2. The story I conceived in this with Rob Van Dam was actually conceived at GalaxyCon in Raleigh this year, which was my first convention back sort of from the pandemic. So that's just kind of a little tidbit, I guess.
So when you found out that you were included in this documentary, whether you knew about the filming beforehand or whether you knew you were going to be in the cut or whatever, however that kind of went about, could you talk to me about that process and ultimately the first time you seen yourself in here? You was like, hey, you know that guy?
Well, I mean, obviously the interview part I filmed and I knew that. And then, I actually didn't realize that they filmed me giving Sandy a back massage. So, and it's funny because obviously it's not like a secret. I mean, right. You know what I mean? So,
it was special though, because if anybody's ever visit you at the booth, they know it's a lot of just working. You don't get time to kind of decompress like that. You're buzzing around.
This was before the show started. So.
Oh, okay. Couldn't tell that. Okay.
Yeah, we hadn't. We were just talking about the night before, and it was just me and Gangrel and Sandy, and we were just talking about because it had just been I think the Jeffrey thing had just gone sort of viral overnight, and so we were talking about that. But that's usually if there's going to be any sort of massaging, and I'm not going to act like I haven't massaged. I've never given Mike a massage either, so. It's just not on camera, but it was funny because I found out about that scene because Mike texted me. He's like, "What the hell are you doing? I'm watching this video. You're giving my wife a massage. What the hell?" And I'm like,
"Come through, man. I got you. Come through."
But so they're real good people, and they work real hard, and they've it makes me happy to see them, succeed and get where they've gotten, and I anticipate that we'll always be some form of friend.
Absolutely, and again, I think that's in documentaries is always the idea of shedding information on a subject matter that folks may not know about, but also I think a big part of documentary success is gaining the viewer's appreciation for whatever that subject matter is. And again, Mike and Sandy, it's hard to not root to root against them. It will be hard to root against them because you just see how much they truly care about this community. And man, I think do they get any fun out of this? Probably not, because they're just constantly running to make sure that 60,000 plus people are happy for 4 days. And that's and not to mention too, they beyond just the attendees, there's folks from different outreaches that are there or charities that are there, and working within the work, layered working, like they're lunatics, that's for sure.
It's the logistics of conventions are insane. You get there, I sort of liken it to just setting up Monday Night Raw, for wrestling fans. I've been backstage for that whole operation, and it's just you walk into this empty arena, convention center, or whatever, and then you have a truck. They have trucks full of stuff. All their banners, and then they're they've got to make an office, and they've got to get that wired up, and then they've got to have all the panel rooms have to be wired for sound and whatever. And it's just you come in, and you transform this place, what I mean, in a day or two or whatever. And then you run that show, and then that night it's just taking it down. And you know what I mean? On Monday, in theory, it's it's like they weren't even there.
Yeah.
And it's, and it's not like it's a huge crew of people, I mean, there's a handful of people that really sort of make that happen, and there's some volunteers and stuff and whatnot. But it's crazy. I mean, and sometimes the hard part is now. I mean, they're always so busy. It's hard. I barely get to see them at the shows because they're just running around all the time. So I mean, sometimes if my flight doesn't come out till, a lot of times I have to leave on Sunday night for shows because I have to work. But
Mm-hmm.
if my flight doesn't go out till Monday morning, sometimes I'll just help them break down so we can hang out and sort of, talk about the old post-mortem and what happened and all that. So, but yeah, they're it's a wild deal, the whole convention thing, and I don't know. I don't know if there's anything truly like it if you haven't been if you haven't been to one. And I mean, yeah, God forbid you haven't been like behind the scenes of one.
I love the analogy of saying it's the modern day circus. That's the truth. I never even pieced it like that.
And they've been really lucky too. They've had some really good people. I mean, Josh in the show, he's he was awesome. He's still a good friend. And then actually the guy who made the documentary, who's not in it, Stephen Shea, is we actually co-wrote a movie together. And we're probably gonna adapt it to a comic book. I think we wrote it pre-pandemic, and we were gonna think about filming it, but I think we're actually gonna make it into a comic first. That might actually be what I do next after Tales from the Road, and then it'll be the first thing I've done that doesn't really have to do with wrestling, but it's actually a horror movie, and it's really good. I'm real proud of it, and I think it'll be really cool once we get it out there. And once you see it, the title and everything, like it'll totally make sense to you.
Okay. But, I'm in.
But yeah, so I don't know. I'm excited about that, and I'm excited for the next. BroderCon as it is.
Yeah. I just want to give a nod to Stephen Shea, the director and editor of this. Cinematography is amazing. I think it gets very down right and intimate to what it's like to be on the floor of a con. So I thought he did a fantastic job in that.
And he's done a lot. He's been involved in a lot of cool movies and stuff. He's he's got his own company, Bismil Entertainment, and he makes a lot of cool stuff. He's been a friend of mine for a long time too, and he's super talented. He was behind. There was a recent sort of the Ghostbusters video that kind of went viral. That he had done was a part of. So he's a really cool dude. He's a creator who I respect a lot, and it was cool to be able to do something with him. And I really can't wait for people to see that when we get it when we bring it to life.
That is awesome. Now, my final question here. Now, you're one of those very rare people who exist in the comic world and in the pro wrestling world. So when you look at something like Fantasy Super Cosplay, FSC Wrestling, that mixture of cosplay and wrestling. Now, they did nod to who idea it essentially was, but that is an idea that like. I think being in that environment, you can say like, oh, this seems like something that'd be cool. But I want to know, like, did you ever or have you ever had any involvement with it? Because I think it takes really a truly person who's really immersed into this community for years instead of it just being like that seems like an idea type of thing. Let's go with it.
I did commentary a couple times, and then they have a title, it's called the Toxie title. It's based on the Toxic Avenger. It's basically their version of the 24/7 title. And I was a holder of that. So obviously, in addition to my illustrious reign as DDT Pro Heavy Metalweight Champion, those are my two big wrestling titles. I found the belt after Wreck-It Ralph dropped it, and then I had it on my convention table for sale. And then Wreck-It Ralph came by, and I traded it for the Cosmic Cube, which I used as a paperweight. So so that was fun. And then I did a bunch of commentary for him, and I feel like the first line I ever said, which they had Brian Cage as Bane and Jason Cade as Spider-Man, and I was doing commentary, and so they're like, oh, Bane looks monstrous or whatever, you know, like, what do you think, Mike? And I just said, I don't know if I'd ever want to smell the protein farts on this guy. So, Jim Ross, I am not.
That is also. Well, I think there's important information to drop as we conclude today. First off, Surviving Supercon is available on digital and on demand, and you can get it on DVD and Blu-ray as of today, November 9th. And as Florida Supercon has now been purchased by Repop, as you said, GalaxyCon is now the baby of the founders of Florida Supercon, which is putting on phenomenal shows. All of my friends are attending it, both my wrestling friends, both just my friends' friends. So it's definitely a destination to go to. Put on your con to go list come 2022. And then obviously Mike Kingston, his information will be in the description below. But ultimately, the Kickstarter is there. The comics are for sale. He's at every con. Keep up with him and all the latest updates and news on his social medias, and all that is down there below. But anything else you want to add there, sir, before we roll out of here?
No, I mean, you know, just there's a lot of people on the creative scene that are making cool stuff, man. And you know, if you see people that are out there, you know, giving their blood, sweat, and tears to stuff, like, you know, like Stephen Shea and Mike and Sandy, and, you know, anybody, you know, just throw them a little love, man. I mean, there's a ton of, you know, everybody likes to put their money into, you know, billion-dollar corporations, but don't forget where they steal all their ideas from.
Yeah. And I should say too, while we are talking about a lot of positive things going on here in the con community, the pandemic has been hard. There are cons that don't exist. There are artists who are no longer operable. And, you know, as Mike said, you know, these folks, including himself, are putting in their blood, sweat, tears to get to these cons on their own budget. I'm hoping to just break even. And it just takes us, the viewers, the fans, just the curious wandering folks on the floor, to just stop by these booths, give a little bit of support, do a little bit of promotion, whatever it may be, because anything helps. And I want to see cons go for many more years, especially some of these really good ones, these healthy ones, these talented artists, and so on. And that's where it's our job to make sure we support. So much like they say, Surviving Supercon, for them, it's a survival every con. So just know that, folks.
No doubt.
But Mike, thank you so much for stopping by. And folks, thank you so much for checking out this review/interview. And I'll see you around for many more very soon.